What's going on, veve fam? Welcome to veve Investments. I appreciate you tuning in. On today's episode, we're going to be recapping the most recent interview that Queen veve did with David YuGiOh, CEO of veve. So if you guys enjoy the content, make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below what you want to see in a future episode. Without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy. All right, so funny little story for you guys. I woke up this morning and I had about 2 to 3 inches of water all over my place. So just a little disclaimer for anyone watching, if there's any issues with the edits in this video, or if this video is perhaps a little shorter, that is the reason why. I'm just kind of dealing with that on my end the same day I'm putting this video out. But regardless of my issues, the structure of today's video is going to be as follows. We're going to be talking about 10 points that I picked up from the call that David had with Queen veve, some positive, some negative. So with that being said, let's hop into number one. The first thing we're going to discuss is ownership, or in other words, ownership over our collectibles and comics on veve. So I'm sure many people at this point have heard the phrase, not your keys, not your NFTs. And that's been one of the biggest arguments from people in the NFT space against veve. They argue that because veve is a closed ecosystem and it is centralized, it's not decentralized, that we don't actually own the assets we're purchasing on the platform. Now, David did actually speak on this. He said that in the case of company closure, for whatever reason, all NFTs will actually be released to their respective owners. The main reason why they hold the keys up until this point is because security is their #1 priority, okay? It is, and it always has been. So if veve, or I guess ecomi in this case, for whatever reason were to go under, right? Let's say the company goes insolvent, then the keys that veve is holding for all of the NFTs on the platform, right? All of the keys for those collectibles in my vault will be passed over to me. So I'm sure that is reassuring for a lot of people. But, you know, and this is a point that I discussed actually, I think in the very first episode I ever posted on this channel. I talked about how there's a reason why the world's largest brands and IP are flocking to a closed ecosystem. Take a company like Disney, for example, right? The team has stated in the past that it took them 3 years to sign that license. Do you really think Disney's sitting behind closed doors with veve or on a Zoom call and they're twiddling their thumbs for 3 years? No, they're doing their due diligence. They're asking the questions they need answers to. They're being shown iterations of the veveverse, certain things that we don't even know are coming as a community. And all of these factors influence Disney's decision to choose veve at the end of the day or not. So although there's probably many reasons why these companies are choosing veve, security is probably one of those reasons. And in a closed ecosystem or on a centralized platform, all of that is easier to control, and I'm sure that's much more appealing to their licensors. Now, speaking of licensors, I want to talk about licensor utility. Now, of course, utility is a big topic of conversation in the community. It always has been, and it still currently is. But Queen veve actually used the example of Disney when talking about licensor utility with David, right? Disney has been pretty clear about their hesitation to offer utility with their NFTs in the past. They've stated that they're going to announce any utility beforehand, and that's for legal reasons. It's what their lawyers are advising them to do. Now, David did make the comment that this does not restrict veve from being able to reward collectors within their own rights. So I'm going to use Discord as an example here. In our most recent community update video, the team talked about Discord and how they're going to be introducing exclusive Discord groups for holders of specific sets or NFTs. So the way that I understood this when David was explaining it is this wouldn't prevent veve from creating an exclusive group on Discord for people that hold the partner statue and then choosing to reward or provide some sort of exclusive benefit to people within that group. Now, that's just a specific example. I'm sure there's much more they can do with it. But for all those people who are disappointed in hearing that Disney is not going to be providing a form of utility directly themselves for pieces that have already dropped, like the Golden Moment series or the Mickey Mouse NFT collection, that doesn't prevent veve from choosing to do that themselves. To me, that makes sense, right? If I put myself in the shoes of veve, I understand that they're limited in the ways they can use the IP that's on their platform. But if I put myself in the shoes of Disney, Disney is offering their IP on a platform they do not own. So they are still restricted or limited with what they can or cannot do on veve's platform. Queen veve did also ask David, you know, what is really preventing these pieces from being minted elsewhere, right? Whether it's being minted with another first appearance or first edition tag or being offered on another platform. Now, David talked about how these brands' IP are their, and I quote, bread and butter. If they re-release a first appearance or first edition, they're going to upset and lose their own fans. Now, David was pretty clear in saying that there's actually nothing stopping these brands from doing this right now. But the reason they won't, or they shouldn't, should I say, is because what they'd essentially be doing is shooting themselves in their own foot. Todd McFarlane already released Todd Batman as a first appearance on veve. Now, Todd McFarlane may choose to release the same statue over on his platform, right? We already have 2 iterations on veve. We have the black and white, and we have the blue and yellow. But if he releases that statue with the same designation as the one on veve, meaning it has a first appearance tag as well, that is only going to annoy his fans and customers who have already bought the first appearance on veve. So to make a longer story short, it just wouldn't be a smart move for Todd McFarlane. What I would really like to hear David discuss, however, is how do they deem a collectible first edition or a first appearance based off 2 things. 1, based off things they've already released on the app, but then 2, based off what competitors have already released on other platforms. Okay. The reason why I bring this up is because I've had some comments on my videos talking about how the first appearance Wonder Woman is actually on Palm and not on veve, but we do have the first appearance tag on veve. Now, David did mention that a priority of his this year is getting more Japanese IP on the platform. He did mention that a large classic Japanese brand that lots of people grew up playing is actually going to be dropping on the platform in the coming months. So I did tweet out this past week having some of you guys guess what you think this brand might be, and what you guys see on screen are some examples of what I got in the comment section of that post. So first up, we had Street Fighter. This is actually a fantastic guess because I completely forgot that veve actually has a signed and confirmed license with this brand. We had some people guess Nintendo, which is another great guess because I know we have the Mario movie coming out. With respect to our previous episode talking about brands I'd like to see on the app in the future, YuGiOh was one of them. And this is a large Japanese brand that's been around for some time and a lot of people have grown up playing it, myself included. Dragon Ball Z, lots and lots of people in the community have been wanting this brand for some time now. I did also see Bleach, which I'm not too familiar with myself, as well as some others. I just couldn't fit everything on screen here. But if there are any other brands that you guys are thinking of that haven't been mentioned on screen, make sure to comment them down below. Now, David did also mention that LOL dolls can be expected around April time, and that we should expect a massive month of March, that the team is going to be dropping a lot of large IP. Next up, and one that kind of confused me a little bit, I'm not going to lie here. I wouldn't mind some people kind of clarifying in the comment section down below. I'm going to explain this to the best of my abilities, but I will be honest in saying the last point I am a little confused with. But first off, with regards to the common Spider-Man, there's been a lot of questions raised in the community lately about why there's thousands of them sitting in what looked like just some random wallet. Now, David did confirm that the wallet is owned by veve. These were Spider-Man that were actually recovered from bot accounts, okay? So back in the day when we had a very large problem with bots on veve, the team's #1 priority back then was actually getting rid of those bots, and these were pieces that were taken away from accounts that they had discovered. Now, he did say that the NFTs are paid for, and because the royalties have also been sent to licensors, they should technically be kept in circulation. So these pieces will not be burned. David said that the remaining editions, or the pieces still sitting in that wallet, are editions that have yet to be reclaimed. Now, this is the thing that confused me a little bit, because when he says reclaimed, the way that I take that is accounts that were previously flagged as bots have had the option of now creating a new account, going through the KYC verification process, and if they were KYC, they had the option of reclaiming the piece because they were paid for. That was my understanding of it. If I'm understanding that correctly, I don't like how the bot accounts had the option of reclaiming the editions. But I'm not going to say much more than that, because again, I'm not fully sure if I'm understanding this correctly. So please, if there's anything that I've said here that is wrong, please correct me in the comment section down below. But David did also explain a little bit more about the rebranding, and it's not for the reasons that a lot of people in the community actually thought. So after the rebrand, there was speculation that it happened because there was a logo infringement. David did confirm that this was not the case. He said that they redesigned the logo so that it targeted a wider audience, and he used the example of both men and women. Now, about 10-15 minutes after veve actually posted their brand revision, I had commented on a post, and I can't remember whose post it was. But anyways, the person was asking, why do you think veve went ahead with this redesign? And I commented and I said, well, the more and more I think about it, the more and more it makes sense for the team to do it now, right? With a smaller user base on the platform. as opposed to after they've turned on all the switches for marketing and we have a larger active user base on the platform, because you're only going to confuse those new users. Now, veve actually did end up liking that post within minutes, so I'm pretty sure they had to agree with what I had to say. But in addition to all of that, David did also say that it caters to wider business verticals, okay? So he mentioned music, he mentioned sports. These are categories they intend on introducing in the future. But these new business verticals are also going to target new audiences, right? New audiences that aren't on veve at all right now. David tried, reassuring the community about how he thinks long-term. And we've discussed his history in the past on this channel. If you guys didn't check out the ecomi's partners and providers part 1 and 2, a lot of the businesses in those videos that we cover are actually David's. Vagabond Toys, which is in brackets on screen, is going to be the company that David started when he was 17 years of age. That business still exists to this day. Now, I've seen some people comment in the past about how David ends up just hiring people to take over his businesses. And this is something I want to briefly discuss here, because people need to understand that that is how business works. When you start a business, you're handling everything yourself. As the cash flow for that business increases, you're going to begin outsourcing the work to other people who can do it better than you can. Using Vagabond Toys as an example, David is a co-founder. He has another business partner that manages the business. I would not be surprised at all if what I just described is exactly what David did with Vagabond Toys. At 17 years of age, I can almost guarantee the fact that he did everything himself, from creating the website to marketing the business to handling the sales to handling the customer service. I'm sure he did it all. At 17, he didn't have 7 different people working for him, right? But today the situation is a little different. Because he's more successful, he's able to put people in those positions to kind of handle the work for him. That is not at all unusual in the business world. Next up, we talked about exchanges. Now, oh gosh, where do I start with this one? Because this one ticked the community off a little bit. And I'll be honest with you guys, myself included. David made the comment about how he forgot to sign a DocuSign form to get the token on an exchange. As an investor, I was not happy hearing this. This is a rookie mistake. We just talked about how David has quite an extensive background in business. This is not something that somebody of David's caliber should be doing. This is something that somebody who's been running a business for, a few months or maybe a couple years, who's still trying to figure out how to manage everything, screws up on every once in a while. Now, surprisingly, that actually isn't even the thing that kind of annoyed me the most here. It was the fact that he said it to begin with. Understanding how passionate this community is and how badly some people have wanted the token on more exchanges, I would not have even said that to begin with. Now, I wouldn't really be surprised if David's kind of looking back on this and regretting a couple things he said. Maybe it slipped out and he didn't mean to begin with. And some people might not even agree with me saying this, because at the end of the day, yes, I get it, transparency and all this and that. I've talked about, and especially this past week, about how veve is not a public business, they're private. They don't need to be telling us nearly the amount of information they were choosing to tell us. But if I was in David's shoes, being a private company, knowing how badly people want to be on exchanges, I would not have just told them that I forgot to sign a damn form to get them on an exchange. I would have just continued to reiterate our plan. I would remind the community that we're still in conversation with the exchanges we intend on dropping the token on, that we've maintained relationships to make sure that we remain compliant. But knowing how passionate this community is, I wouldn't have even turned that stone over. I would have just kept doing what we need to do. Now, he did make the comment about how he's aware that the community doesn't want any more tier 2 and tier 3 exchanges, right? When they released the token on the OKEX, that Asian exchange, people were disappointed, right? And I can understand that. So he's completely aware that the next exchange they drop the token on, whether that's Binance, whether that's Coinbase, I know we have the AMA coming up with Binance New Zealand, it needs to be a top tier exchange. But as for the DocuSign form, what's happened has happened, what's said has been said. I deal with DocuSign myself, so I understand how easy of a platform it is to use. I really, really hope that as an investor, we don't hear stuff like that in the future. Point number 8, we're talking about word of mouth. I'm going to brush past this one because we have discussed it before on the channel, but David did talk about the importance of getting people to want to show the app to their family and their friends. He understands that the influx of users we had back in January of 2022 was because of word of mouth from people showing their family and their friends. Word of mouth, guys, is the strongest form of marketing there is. And David understands the importance of making the app fun to make the promotion for the app easier. I've used Amazon time and time again as an example in the past. Amazon would not be where it's at today if it weren't for their review system. Or in other words,
if they didn't have a way to display social proof, because that's what word of mouth is. It's social proof. I have never gone on to Amazon and purchased a product that has less than 4 or 5 stars. And on top of that, I've actually never purchased a product on Amazon without clicking on the reviews and seeing what people have to say about it. The ability for me to showcase hundreds, and for some people thousands of collectibles on their mobile phone from anywhere in the world at any time is huge. Being able to put them in your vault, showcase them in AR. If I'm shown hundreds of different collectibles, oh my God, I can put the Joker into AR. Oh my God, a Lamborghini. I can sit in the Lamborghini right behind the wheel and I can see all the little details right down to the engine push to start button. Heck yeah, let me download the app. Let me check this out, right? It's a no-brainer for a lot of people. And like David said, it's fun. Now, word of mouth is not only the strongest form of marketing that there is, but it's also going to be much more cost-effective for veve, because you're getting new users on the platform without having to spend marketing dollars to get them on the platform. So just another thing to consider there. Second to last, we're going to talk about harassing the team. So the reason why the team hasn't introduced more members to the public, right, is because they don't want them to be harassed. I am completely on veve's side when it comes to this. I put out a tweet this past week that gained a little bit of traction. It was me talking about the fact that veve actually goes above and beyond for a private company. But the reality is they're treated as if they're public. So I asked the question, I said, for a company that operates on a blockchain that is completely transparent, where you can see the moves that are being made, at what point is a private company expected to answer every single question about every single move they're making? And the answer is they shouldn't be expected to answer every single question about every single move they're making. Somebody commented on that post talking about how there's a lot of people in the community acting as shareholders, and I couldn't agree more. The fact is, veve tells us much more information than they actually really need to at the end of the day. They're going above and beyond what is expected of a private company, okay? And David did mention that if they chose to put some of these team members into the spotlight, this can distract some of their team members in a way that can slow down progress for the business. Let's use Mitch Mack as an example. Mitch, up until this point, has been, fantastic. I'm an actions over words guy, and this guy has done nothing but execute. I'm sure many people notice that Mitch Mack's first community update video was the most recent video released to the community. I'm very, very confident in saying that David and Dan had to screen Mitch properly and make sure that he was capable of pulling his own weight on that call, but also just being in the spotlight in general, right? He's on Twitter, he's asking questions, he's communicating with the community, but David and Dan would not let him do any of that, nor would they let him on the community update call if he can't hold his own weight. But just going back to my first point, and I'm going to be a little blunt here, okay, a little straightforward. veve, guys, is a private business. Stop acting like they're public. There are certain expectations being raised by the community about, oh, the team needs to do this, and oh, the team isn't communicating properly on that. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, hang on a sec. The team just released a community update video, okay? David was just on an AMA, a podcast with Matt Gondak as well, which is going to be our next episode. We just got the rebrand. The team's in the Discord answering questions all the time. Where on earth are people getting this idea that the team isn't communicating properly? Because at the end of the day, veve is doing much, much more than the average private company does for their fan base. I'll argue that any day of the week, but I'll stop there because, well, I got some water to wipe up, and I don't want this video to be too long, so. And last but not least, David did mention branded accessories. So Dan, in our veveverse unveil video, talked about how, we could see branded home spaces. David kind of, in a way elaborated on this. So lots of veve licensors have actually expressed interest in providing accessories. So David used furniture as a specific example here of how we could see IP branded furniture in our home space. This didn't really surprise me at all to hear. It provides an additional source of revenue for their licensors. And when you look at a company like Disney, who's going through a whole restructure, something like this, I'm sure, is very appealing for them. But on top of that, it also just provides additional ways for those brands to promote themselves inside of veve's virtual space. All right, so I do have some flooding I got to take care of now, so I am going to wrap the video up here. Next episode, we're going to be talking about the podcast that Matt Gondak did with David Yu. So if you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below what you want to see in a future episode. And as for our next, I'll catch you then.